I think they can be helpful. I think when you're really young, and not even really young, when you're just trying to figure out who you are and what you're about and who you are as a person, what you identify as, it can be nice to have that label to be like, okay, this is what I am. And it might change over the course of your life, and that's fine. But sometimes it's nice to just have that label. And some people feel differently. Some people think that, the label doesn't matter. But I think it's good to have, just for personal validation, to be like, okay, I am this.
I don't particularly like labels, but I like the idea of certain ones, if that makes any sense at all. Like, I feel like the labels have both negative and positive connotations to them. So you have like their labels of sexuality, so like I'm asexual, and then you have labels that are negative and like slurs and things like that. Like someone would look at me and see that I'm Hispanic and be like, oh, she's a beaner, and so you have your negative labels. But I think it's like a mixture of good and bad.
I think it's different from person to person. I think I know people who are very strongly opposed. I know people who think that we don't exist. I know people who are very into the community, even though they themselves don't fit any of the descriptions. I know people that are very supportive. So it depends on your environment and how you were raised to think about it, and a variety of things.
It depends on what direction you're looking at it. If you're looking at it from a more accepting society, you're going to be like, yeah, LGBTQ, it's important, it's valid, it's giving people this connection to be themselves. But if you're looking at it from, I would say, more of a conservative standpoint, you would think negative of them. I feel like the community is very important, and it's a place for people to be themselves, but some people have problems with that because they want to believe that people who identify with that are wrong and there's something not right about them. Well, I'm asexual, so there's not much of a coming out experience per se. It's more of like a realization. This happened about, oh my gosh, it's gonna be 2 years ago. I was going through some problems where things weren't just going well in relationships. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Where I wasn't really wanting to have sex with anybody, and that bothered significant others. Like, is there something wrong with me? What did I do wrong? And I'm just like, dude, it's not about you. There's something wrong with me. And I remember going to my friend Sarah about it one night, like in tears, freaking out, like there's something wrong with me. Like, what is it? And she's like, I'm explaining everything to her, and she looks at me and she goes, Andy, you're asexual. And I was just like, heh. And I went home and I ended up like doing a lot of Googling, and I was just like, there's a word for this, oh my gosh. And it was like it was so relieving. And like I remember I went to my best friend and I told her about it, and she was like, that makes so much sense. Like all these things that I had been doing and saying led up to that, and it was just like, oh, it's the perfect word for it. That's why I feel like labels do work sometimes. Like it worked for me.
For a really long time, I just knew about the two labels. I knew that there was gay and there was straight, and that was it.
Well, I was raised in a Christian household, so hence being from the South, and I was raised to think that specifically people who were gay, because I didn't know about the entire community until I was in high school. So specifically people who were gay, as in men who liked men, women who liked women, that was considered wrong. And I was like, it was a bad thing. Men shouldn't like men, women shouldn't like women. But I remember being really young, like 8 or 9 years old, and being really confused about that. Because in my mind, I didn't see anything wrong. I thought, oh, they love each other. What's wrong with this? This doesn't seem like a bad idea. But my family and people around me definitely tried to instill this mindset, this is wrong, and you shouldn't approve of it.
I think it can be a really nurturing place. I think it can be a good place for a lot of people. Having said that, though, I do feel like sometimes it's not the best. Speaking as a person who identifies as a bisexual, there's a lot of backlash in the community, and that, like, in the same way that straight people think you should just pick a side, a lot of gay people also have the opinion that if you're bisexual or pansexual, you should just pick a side. Like, and a lot of straight people, or a lot of gay people tell you that, like, oh, because you have straight passing privilege, if you're in a same-sex relationship, you're not allowed in our spaces. You can only come in if you start dating someone of the same sex. And I'm like, personally, I don't agree with that.
Certain aspects of the community are very open to people. I remember when I started interacting with people who were gay and pan and bi and explaining myself, like saying, hey, I'm ace, they were always really like welcoming, like, yeah, one of us, come in. And even to people who aren't LGBTQ, even people who are straight and consider themselves allies, so welcoming. And there are definitely aspects of the community that are very inviting. But on the other side of that, there are aspects of the community that look at people, especially people who are bi and asexual, and just go, well, you're just straight passing, so you're not really one of us. You haven't really struggled, so you don't know. We do struggle. We all experience things differently. As someone who's asexual, I'm looked at as not normal. I've been called unnatural before, and I was told once by someone that I was put on this earth for a reason, and I need to know what that is, and I need to learn my place. We all feel struggles in different ways, and I feel like some people within the LGBTQ plus community don't understand that.
I mean, it's such a small deal in the grand scheme of life. Like, who you sleep with and who you're attracted to means nothing. So I don't understand why it's this big roadblock that we have to get over. Like, I just hope in the future it becomes less of like a taboo topic that you don't talk about, or something that you have to cover up or change.
I guess it kind of is naive to say that I just want everyone to get along. I want everyone to try and just love each other, because as someone who I am a Christian. I know that's weird to be like, I'm part of the community, but I'm also a Christian. Ooh, I'm wild. As someone who's a Christian, we are taught through the Bible that we are meant to love each other. We are meant to love everyone. That is the most important commandment. That is the Bible encompassed. And people don't seem to get that. Specifically Christians have trouble understanding that is a concept. And I have lived my life by that concept. And I like to think that is what has made me be a kind of person who is willing to just accept everybody for what they are. And I like to hope that one day the community that we are part of, the LGBTQ plus and everybody else, can just get over our shit and just get along with each other and treat each other like we're living and breathing, because we are.